Hey everyone, Doug here from the Wilderness Files. I'm starting a new series on this channel, a studio side informational series called Random Wilderness Wednesdays. The idea is that about once a week, I can't promise it's going to be every Wednesday, that's just what I'm going to call it, but about once a week, I'm going to do a video where I'm going to randomly select a wilderness area in the United States, and then I'm going to do some research on it, and we're going to talk about where this wilderness area is, what its characteristics is, its history, so on and so forth like that. So a little bit of more informational content. If you've seen my channel already, and please go check out some of my other videos. I do hiking videos, backpacking videos, adventure videos, but the common theme is wilderness areas, and that's a specific thing. In the United States, we have a wilderness preservation system, so we have a network of specifically named and designated areas that we call wilderness areas, and they are protected as wilderness. There are 806 individually named wilderness areas in the United States. So it's a really big system. If you put them all together, it's almost 112 million acres, which is an area that, larger than the size of California. So it's pretty extensive, and it's just great. I love wilderness areas. That's why I created this channel. All right, so let's do this. Basically, what I have is on my computer, I have a huge spreadsheet of all of our wilderness areas, and I've got them numbered. So what I'm going to do is a screen recording, and I'll show this as I go here. I'm going to do like a spin the wheel thing to randomly select a number, and then we'll go see which wilderness area that number is associated with. Then I'll go back and do some research on it and come back into the video with information about that wilderness area. I'm going to spin this random wheel here. So we're going to select, we're going to spin the wheel. I've got the maximum number at 806, and we'll see where it lands. So let's go. Let's spin the wheel. Boom. By the way, while that wheel is spinning, I don't know how long it takes. My last video, I announced I wrote a book called Crack for Trout Bums. Pick it up on Amazon if you can. It's only 99 cents for the ebook, but you might want the paperback version as well. It's a real book. Here we go. 644. All right, 644. So let's see where that lands. Okay, we're going to find out right now whether this is a wilderness area that I've heard of or that I know about, or whether it's something that's completely new to me that I haven't heard of. Either way, it's fine. We'll go with it. No redos here. So 644. So we've got these sorted by number here. I'm going to scroll down all the way to 644, and we'll see what we ended up with. 644 is Upper Burrow Creek. Yeah, have no idea what Upper Burrow Creek is. I know a lot of wilderness areas. I don't think this one's familiar. So let's scroll over real quick here and see. It's a small wilderness area, 27,777 acres, so pretty small, designated in 1990. And it's Bureau of Land Management, and it's in Arizona. That's why I've never heard of it, because there are a ton of these kind of smallish BLM wilderness areas in the desert Southwest. So pretty cool. Upper Burrow Creek. It actually has a parentheses west. Interesting. Okay, we're going to find out what this is. Okay, so Upper Burrow Creek is the wilderness area that we landed on in our random selection. And I'm going to just broadcast this real time, what I find out about this wilderness area, because this is not one that I was familiar with. I've taken a quick look at some of the information, and it's actually a pretty interesting area. First of all, the single best resource for wilderness research is wilderness.net. So I'm going to show that real quick here. This is wilderness.net here. If I go to the home button here, I won't spend too much time on this. I just want to talk a little bit about what this resource is. So this is wilderness.net. If you're looking for a wilderness area or want to do wilderness research, wilderness.net is probably the first place to start. It's done by the Wilderness Connect, which is an interagency organization in partnership or collaborative partnership with the Wilderness Institute at the University of Montana, the Arthur Carhart National Wilderness Training Center, and the Aldo Leopold Wilderness Research Institute. And they basically keep track of all of our wilderness areas up to date and all the data around them. So it's a really good resource. As far as Upper Burrow Creek, we're going to look into this real quick. So there's a couple ways to find it here with wilderness.net. We can do visit wilderness and search for wilderness, and I can put in Upper Burro Creek. You can see it auto-populates there in Arizona, and if I click on that, it's going to give me some background information on what this wilderness is. As we can see here, it shows the 27,440 acres, which matches what I had in my database and designated in 1990. And we've got a description down here. Let's just read what it says real quick. One of the few perennial streams to flow undammed into the lower desert of Arizona. That's pretty cool. That's really hard to find, actually. 13 miles of the creek pass through this wilderness, divided into an eastern and western section by a dirt road. So this is one of the interesting things about some of our wilderness areas that's good to know, is that some wilderness areas have disparate sections. So in my opinion, they should have two different names so that you know that it's not a contiguous area. But this is a single named wilderness area that has two different sections. It looks like it has a dirt road going through between the two, so it's not a contiguous area. Um, it looks like Burro Creek says it runs deep through incised bedrock, falling about 1,500 feet in a half mile. That's basically a waterfall, like a long waterfall. Elevations range from 2,350 feet to 5,000 feet. Small waterfalls connect clear pools in which you can take the plunge for a magnificently refreshing desert swim. That sounds pretty neat. Um, just reading along here, some information. Topography has created numerous microhabitats where an abundance of Arizona plant communities intermingle. Bird watchers are attracted to at least 150 species of avian life. Great variety of raptors: beavers, raccoons, desert cottontails, ringtail cats, badgers, skunks, gray foxes, javelinas. Those are like little wild pigs. Bobcats, mountain lions, mule deer, and pronghorn antelope. No designated trails. That's kind of interesting. My most recent backpacking trips were to areas that didn't have any trails. You find this in the desert. It's really I find it a really good way to explore when you have an area that's kind of wide open, and you can just kind of go anywhere. There's a whole other level of kind of exploration where you can just go anywhere. I went to the Ojito Wilderness in New Mexico, and then the next day I went to the Bisti Denazin Wilderness, also in New Mexico. And in both cases, there weren't really any trails. I just went wherever I wanted to go, which is pretty neat. I made two videos out of those, by the way, if you want to check them out. No designated trails, but the stream and side canyons are easy to navigate. Despite the presence of water, summers are far too hot for a visit, often exceeding 100 degrees. Temperatures more moderate between October 1 and April 30th. Yeah, this is one of those shoulder season hikes. Probably good in the wintertime too, but if you want to do some swimming, I would say probably shoulder season when the weather's warm but not too hot. Cool, that looks pretty interesting. Okay, so let's see what else we can do here. I can click on a map. This is another way to find wilderness areas in wilderness.net. If you want to, it gives you this national, if I zoom out here, you can see the entire wilderness system in the United States in one place, which is pretty neat. This is interactive, so I zoom in, and I'm going to zoom in. I can search for the area here as well on the map. So if I put in Upper Burro Creek on the map, yeah, it's going to zoom into this area. So this is what it looks like, and this is what I was talking about where it mentioned two disparate areas. This line here is a dirt road. So, they're not separate, but it's bisected by this dirt road. Of the 27,000 acres, it looks like the eastern side is slightly bigger than the west, but I think from what I read, the pools and the more interesting part of the canyon is in this western side in this topography here. Although this escarpment looks pretty interesting as well. There's a big canyon there too. If I zoom out, we can see where this is. This is in Arizona. I can see Flagstaff over here, so it's to the southwest of Flagstaff, northwest of Phoenix, and southeast of Las Vegas. So actually, this is pretty remote. This is not close to anything. It's well off any major highways. Yeah, this is my kind of place. I'm actually looking for a desert wilderness to visit this winter, January or February, and I might have to look into this one a little bit. I might be a little cold for winter time. Based on the characteristics of this wilderness area, I would probably want to try to take a dip in that water. So January might not be the best time for that. So maybe I'll leave this one for a shoulder season. But I would have to say this one looks pretty cool. Let's see if we can find some pictures. Upper Burrow Creek Wilderness. I noticed on the wilderness.net, there's no pictures here. A lot of the wilderness areas on wilderness.net do have some pictures that you can look at, but this one doesn't. So we're going to search for Upper Burrow Creek Wilderness. See what we come to here. Yeah, lots of pictures here. Wow, look at this waterfall. Ah, that's sizable. It's a sizable creek there. Look at that. So it's a desert wilderness, desert riparian environment, a rare situation where you have a perennial undammed stream flowing into the lower desert, which is pretty interesting. That's pretty hard to find. Let's see if we can find any YouTube videos. Yeah, rock hounding. It's known for having some cool rocks. Okay, that's an additional thing that wasn't listed in the wilderness.net. It looks like a place that gets a fair amount of attention. Some wilderness, if you don't find any YouTube videos on a wilderness area, you know it's not very well known, not very visited. So it'd be interesting to see. I bet it's not really that crowded because it's definitely off the beaten path. Again, not a big wilderness at 27,000 acres. I think that would rank it. I actually let's do that real quick. Let's see how big that is in terms of ranked size. And we find, okay, Upper Burrow Creek, this ranks 362nd. So it's in that larger half, actually. That's surprising. 27,777 acres. It is the 362nd largest wilderness area in the United States, so kind of right near the middle. So there you have it, Upper Burrow Creek Wilderness. Perennial desert stream, swimming, canyons, pretty remote, and a good place for shoulder season. Too hot in the summertime probably for most people, might be a little chilly in the wintertime for swimming. So fall and spring sounds like a fantastic place to go. No trails. Definitely one I'm going to look into a little bit more for a desert trip, a possible desert trip. So you might see a video if I choose to go to Upper Burrow Creek. Maybe I'll do a video of this one. I'm going to close it out for today as this is my first random Wilderness Wednesday video. It's kind of fun doing this. It's kind of a little thing to fill the time as we get cabin fever here in the wintertime sometimes, and just to keep the content going. And thank you for watching. Until next time.